Alright, we're going to start to work on making the collisions happen here. So we need some different fields for the collision detection. And so we're going to start out by giving ourselves containers in which to store the destination spots. So private to look into the future, x destination, x dest, and we're going to do y destination, and we're going to do x temp and y temp, so we can keep track of certain values before we make permanent changes, final changes to the x and y position, the actual x and y positions. We're also going to have some booleans, private boolean, to keep track of whether or not like a collision has occurred in each of these areas. So top left, top right, and these refer to the corners of the ball's rectangle. We're just going to base it on rectangles, not on circles. Bottom right, bottom left, and these booleans are just going to kind of keep track for us which area of the ball has collided with the brick. We need to set these things to initial values, so let's just set x destination to x, y destination to y, x temp to x, or y temp to y, and then we can we have to cast these things because I have it as doubles right now, the x and y. So let's just cast them, or I suppose we could just change the ints to doubles. Yeah, let's do that. So we can make these doubles instead of ints, and then we'll take out this int thing. We'll have to do casting eventually, but not right now. Then we need to set the initial values of the boolean, so we can say top left equals top right equals bottom left equals bottom right equals false. So they're all equal to each other, and they all start off by equaling false. So we have not detected a collision at this point. Okay, so we need to start putting the that idea into code now, where we're going to check like where the collision has happened in one of two directions, the horizontal direction and the vertical direction. So right away we're just going to set up a method, kind of a helper method, to calculate the corners and to see which corner has collided, because we need to know which corner of our ball has collided with the rectangle, so that represents the brick. So the first thing we're going to do is public void calculate corners, just to see if the corners have collided, and this thing is going to take in double x, let's do x position, y position, just to give it separate names so we can like make sure to keep track of what's happening, and it needs to take in a rectangle that will represent the brick and be the brick's position. So it's going to cycle over all of the bricks that eventually we will create, or it'll look at the paddles rectangle and see where it collides with that. So now we're going to use this object called a point object, which stores location like in an x and y coordinate. So we're going to say the top left point, and we're just going to grab the position of the ball using these values. So point TL equals new point, and we need to cast this to an int, so we're going to say x position and y position. And why is this upset when we still need to cast this to an int? Alright, and we're going to do that for all four corners. So now we're going to do point, top right point of the ball, these are the points that represent the ball, equals new point, int x position plus size, right, the ball's size, and then y position, that's the y position, that's the balls, this is not a capital P, so the x position plus the size. Then we'll do another one to get the bottom corners, so bottom left equals new point, x position and integer y position plus size. So the bottom point of the ball, point bottom right equals new point int x position plus size and y int y position plus size. So now we have the 4 positions that represent the corners of the ball. Now we need to reset the values of top left equals top. You know what? I'm just going to copy this line of code. We just need to make sure every time we're doing a collision detection that we reset the assumed values to false, so that we don't get any false positives that are like echoes of past collision checks. Alright, and now we are going to check if in fact any of those points intersect the rectangle that was passed over that represents the brick. So we should maybe we should rename this. We can say brick rectangle, or like rectangle to check or something. So this rectangle R will represent either the paddle or the brick or whatever. We're checking all the entities on screen. So what we're going to do is say like top left equals r.contains TL. So it looks a little funny right now, but this r.contains, so does the rectangles have a method called contains that can tell if they contain this point. So if the point that represents the top left corner of the ball is contained within the rectangle that represents the brick or paddle, we set top left to true, and if this is false, we set it to false. So we need to do this for each of the points. So top right equals r.contains, contains top right. Bottom left equals r.contains bottom BL, and bottom right equals r.contains BR. Now, if all this looks a little funny and it's like and it's not making sense yet, I hope it'll come together as we do the next 2 different methods that all work together to perform actual collision checks. So this is the calculate corners method that can tell if a particular corner of our ball has intersected with a rectangle that's passed over from a different class. And it can tell more than just that it has intersected. It can tell you which portion, which corner has in fact overlapped. And we're going to use this in concert with other methods to actually do the collision checking. And you'll see that in the next video.